Hello there, friends and RC family. My name is Alec from High Noon Hobbies, and if you are new to this channel, I very much appreciate you checking it out. I hope you will stick around, watch at least this video, see if this content seems worth your while, and consider subscribing so that then I can say to you, if you aren't new here, welcome back to yet another Friday upload. This time we are going to be taking a look at a few different styles of trucks. We got this footage when we went down to Lil Moab a few weeks ago, and it's not necessarily comp footage, but it is on some more comp style terrain. So these are difficult obstacles, which makes it pretty interesting, pretty fun to watch. And we're going to be talking about these different trucks and, you know, their differences, their high points, their weaknesses, and what you would probably have the most fun driving depending on what you're looking at doing. But before we get into that, I do have a couple of points that I want to touch on. The first one is that the High Noon Hobby 2,000 subscriber giveaway is still live right now. You can still get entered. You can get entered all the way until December 30th at 11:59 Mountain Standard Time, and then we will be announcing the winner for that on January 1st, the start of 2023, along with giving our donations for the 2022 season on that same live stream. So it's definitely going to be a really fun live stream. I want you guys all to be there, so I'm going to announce it a few times. I hope that doesn't annoy you too much there. The second thing that I want to touch on is that I just kind of want to remind everyone about the new 2023 merch that's available on the store. You can go and take a look at that, highnoonhobby.com, the store down below. The giveaway is highnoonhobby.com/2K giveaway. So get yourself entered into the giveaway and then take a look at the shop while you're there, and we've got tons of new cool designs and whatnot. And along with that comes kind of a new strategy for the way that we are doing our donations. So definitely make sure to revisit our last video, or visit our last video if you didn't catch that one, the RC Speedy build and first run. In that video, we talk about the 2K giveaway for the first time. We also talk about the new merch and the way that we're going to be formatting the donations for next year. So it's a really good video, but there's some interesting information at the start of that pertaining to how all of that's going to go on. The last thing that I want to talk about is just my video posting format or schedule. Right now, we're doing every Friday, and then we're doing live streams on Sunday. Sometimes we do miss live streams. For 2023 year, I'm really going to focus on trying to get those live streams consistent, although the hard part about it is that we are oftentimes out at events on weekends, which makes it hard to do that Sunday live stream. So my commitment to you is that if we do miss our Sunday live stream schedule, or if we know we're going to be missing our Sunday live stream, we will go ahead and post a live stream or go and do a live stream on a Monday evening or Tuesday evening, and we'll make sure to make you guys aware of that schedule change. I'm going to try to be better about making posts on YouTube, so if you see those posts as you're scrolling through YouTube, I don't know if they show up anywhere other than mobile. I hope that they do, but basically I do make posts sometimes about scheduling changes to things. I'm going to try to be more consistent about making posts about schedule changes that are happening to that High Noon Hobby live stream that happens every Sunday. So with that being said, we are going to potentially be upping the content, but I'm not going to necessarily say, okay, we're doing 2 videos a week. When I started the channel back last year, I was doing 2 videos a week for a little while, and it was a lot to keep up on, and I felt like the quality wasn't quite there, or it was starting to dip, and it just wasn't giving me the creative freedom to do what I wanted with those videos and make them as good as possible. So I'm not going to say that we're doing 2 videos a week necessarily, but I do want to say that we're going to be upping the amount of content. So the Friday upload will stay consistent, and then throughout the week you may see another video. We're going to try to focus in on different things on the random videos. So maybe a specific event, we'll do a 2 video series for that sometime throughout the week, and then we'll try to keep up on kind of more interesting, broader topics for our Friday upload, so that you guys can get the most value out of that content. But that's all I've got in terms of announcements for this intro, so let's get straight into this video, start looking at some of this footage. I think we're going to have a really good time, some laughs, and maybe learn a thing or two throughout it. All right, let's do it. All right, here we are out here at Lil Moab with a few different rigs, and we're going to start hitting some hard lines right out of the gate. This first one here is a nasty bowl that you've got to turn into on your passenger side. Keep your driver's side tire really kind of as close, as tight into this ledge as you possibly can, and really dip that passenger front tire into the bowl there as much as possible to pull yourself up and over. This here obviously is the High Noon Hobby Capra. Now, it's incredible how cheap this rig really is when you consider the performance that it gives you. I got this as a ready-to-run kit, and so it already came with everything ready to go, a controller, everything like that. I got the four-wheel steer version already out of the box, so I didn't have to deal with any of that sort of stuff, and I truly haven't changed a whole lot since I got this truck. I basically gave it a flat skid. I extended the links just a tiny bit just to give it just a little bit longer wheelbase and flatten it out just a little bit more. I took the cups out of the bottom of the or the shock hats out of the bottom of the shocks just to release those springs and get them to sit on the axles themselves. That dropped it down a little bit more, and that's really all I did. I did a Hobbywing 1080 in it, but it still is running the stock motor, or one very similar to the stock motor. I don't even have the dig enabled in my truck. Here you can see this is Mike's Capra. Mike is also running a four-wheel steer. This is another one that was ready to run out of the box with four-wheel steer, so you can see, I believe that is still the stock servo on the back of his truck there. I am also still using the stock servo on the back of my Capra, just to kind of give you a perspective on how budget these builds are and the types of lines that they're capable of. So if you're looking for something that's super capable, I mean, obviously this line isn't the craziest, but those Capras really walked this line with no problem whatsoever. If you want something that's super capable, I would definitely recommend getting something like a Capra. Now, you can obviously build your own capable rig, and if that's what you're looking to do, then that's a great option. But when people come to me and they're looking for just a really capable, ready-to-run rig, and they're going to be going out to places like Lil Moab, the Capra is a great option. It'll keep you entertained for hours. There's tons of awesome, it just has so much ability that you can really play around on the rocks and find a ton of awesome lines for it. Now, in kind of comparison or contrast to that, here we've got the Vatera Ascender. This has been through the ringer. This is Kenny or Jalopy Garage's rig, and this thing has definitely been through the ringer a few times. I do believe that this is his first rig, and he doesn't go easy on it, but we're seeing the difference in performance right out of the gate. Definitely, I would say that the performance of this rig, not necessarily the biggest hindrance, or at least as much as the body clearances of the rig and the bumper. But even when you're not dealing with clearances, we're still having some issues getting through that ascent. Just to give you an idea of a comparison, here is a comp rig. Now, obviously, this is a very capable comp rig. We've seen it on the channel before. This is Taylor's rig here, T Hill on Instagram. I'll link to both Kenny and Taylor down below, but we can see that, and Mike, but we can see that this rig is definitely making the line look a lot easier, but it's still not making it as easy as the Capra. And obviously we didn't use four-wheel steer. Neither Mike or I used four-wheel steer to get up this line, so that's not necessarily the problem. It's really just a center of gravity thing. The steering on axle versus the chassis mounted servo for this truck here, that could play into it as well. And then the biggest thing here is his tires. Actually, he's testing out new tires, and he's testing out kind of different compounds. And when you get into comp rigs, this is just kind of to demonstrate that, you know, really the point in comp rigs is to keep testing, keep changing things until you find something that works really well, and then stick with it. But if you're trying to really enjoy yourself when it comes to driving a comp rig, you're probably going to be changing things fairly often, and as you do so, you're going to be changing the performance of the rig significantly. If you want the base performance that is probably the best performance, you're looking at getting something like a class 3 rig like the Capra, or building something similar to it like the G-Shot that we've seen plenty of times on the channel as well. Now this second obstacle here, we're going to be working our way up this really steep ledge. You saw Mike was already lined up for it on that far passenger side of this ledge, and that's really the area that you have to get to. Here I'm having to work for the ability to get over into that area just a little bit, in part because of my poor driving skills, and in part because of where Kenny is parked is kind of the line that I want to take, or at least part of the line that I want to take over there. So I'm having to work the rear axle a bit to get myself over into the spot that I want to be to get up this ledge. But we can also see the difference here between the composure of Mike's rig going up this steep breakover angle versus my rig. I don't have D's bands on my rig, so I don't have, and for those of you that don't know what D's bands are, they're those little elastic bands that you'll see on Mike's Capra, the really colorful Capra, throughout this video. And those are basically, they're not quite limiting straps, but they just keep things a little bit more tight to the body and still allow for that full articulation. So in doing so, it definitely kept it more composed on this steep ascent. But once I got the right angle on the ascent for my Capra as well, which does not have those D's bands, it was still able to make that climb just fine. Now we're seeing here with Kenny's truck, he tried to go over not quite as far over to the right as we did the first time round, and definitely paid the price for it. But here you see him finding the line that's off to that far passenger side, and the Viterra actually has no problem with that line whatsoever. So it's not to say that you can't do, you know, dicey lines or difficult lines with cheap or, you know, rigs that aren't necessarily comp specific. It's just to say that you're going to have a more difficult time doing them, and you'll be able to find more lines the more capable your rig is. So it's really, it's not that it's a limiting factor necessarily. You're always finding lines. It's the limiting factor is the number of lines that you're going to be able to find with each given rig. Comp truck, even though we are on tires that are not scrubbed in and definitely need maybe a different compound, but either way, the comp rig makes that ascent there look easy, just giving you kind of some perspective there on the difficulty of that climb. Now this here is a spicy descent, and this will certainly show some of the weakness here, or maybe a weak point in the Capra. The descents on Capras are just not that great. The cage, the way that the weight is kind of placed in the cage, the way that the battery is really far up front, and the fact that there's really no weight whatsoever in the rear keeping a Capra down, especially I believe both Mike and I are running weight on the front axles of our rigs. Yep, you can see some brass in there on his, and I know I've got some on mine. Definitely does not do the Capra very well when it comes to hefty descents. Now, Class 2 rigs, the weighting is still pretty far forward, obviously still geared towards ascents, but you can typically get away with some much steeper descents on like a Class 2 rig, versus just the Capra cage setup itself is pretty hindering when it comes to descent capability. Could flip around and back down it, obviously, but just in terms of the descent capability itself, not ideal. You can see I'm making it a little bit further just because I'm taking that far side, but I do completely lose my composure there. Definitely not staying attached to the wall whatsoever. Wouldn't call myself in control in that moment, but I was able to kind of recover it and get back over to the other side. Now that right there was Kenny's descent. That was all I captured of it, because as I went to point my camera up at it and turn it on, he came down and nearly smashed me in the face. So thank you, GoPro, for saving my face. I do appreciate it. But here we've got Taylor's rig. This is the Class 2 rig coming down, and even with tires that are not well scrubbed in and not really suiting the performance of the rig that well, you can see that he is still staying composed further down that face than either of the Capras did, which is definitely a testament to just the low center of gravity of a Class 2 rig, and the way that the weight is being placed on a C-channel or even a flat rail chassis versus something like a Capra where you've got that center skid. Now this is going to be the last line that we take a look at in this video. This one was, I thought, really fun. It had kind of an interesting approach to it because it was so tucked in here, and you have, obviously you can see that if you were to try to drive just straight onto this obstacle, you would have some serious problems doing so because of the steep descent that is right there before you start making this ascent. You'd basically get all sorts of bound up most likely. So the approach that I found was off kind of coming in from the side and then working your way into this crack. And once you found the right spot on the crack to get traction, it was possible. It did look like a almost impossible line, but once you found this spot right here and you're able to square that front axle up with that crack, there was a good hook, and you were able to pull yourself up into this second part of the crack here, where it definitely was not nearly as steep. So I always like fun kind of climbs like this, where you have to stay balanced and you're working both axles to really keep it in check, and then at the same time you're looking for those hooks, because you're not only in a V-notch, but you're on a pretty nasty ascent. But as you can see here, we're pretty flattened out. We got up to mostly flat ground, so I decided to try to do something a little bit spicy and see if I couldn't work myself up onto this wall on the passenger side and then climb up it. I saw some not so scale looking rubber, as you can see right there, and so I figured, I'd give it a shot, see what I could do about getting onto that wall and climbing it. Unfortunately, I dip into this hole here and things start going a little ski-wampus. This is where you might want some D's bands on your Capra, because look at how light that front axle's getting, and that would definitely be staying more composed if I had those elastic bands keeping them down. I've seen some people use like rubber bands and stuff, but I definitely recommend these bands. They're going to keep it a lot more composed through that. So even though I wasn't able to make it through that upper section, I did want to see what Mike could do in terms of trying to get up this lower section here. So you can see he's working at it, working his way in. Definitely rear steer helps the approach on this obstacle significantly. So again, if you're looking to find just a bunch of different lines, and that's really what you're interested in, I would say go with a Capra or some sort of a tube chassis rig. It's definitely going to provide you with more fun. I love the Capra just because of how simple it is to make this thing really perform incredibly well. But obviously there's the comp truck route where you can spend a lot more time tuning and tinkering, and if that's what you're interested in doing, then that's great. If you're looking for kind of a out of the box, nearly ready for hard lines like this, definitely the Capra is going to be a better option. And then we talked about body clearances. Body clearances come into factor or into play on many different obstacles, so that's something to take into consideration. But if you're going to be just doing a lot of trailing and this type of stuff is a little bit more occasional for you, then getting something like a Viterra Ascender, which is a very inexpensive rig, or even doing a TRX 4 or an SCX 10 10.3, 10.2 chassis, 10.2 builder's kit, something like that is definitely going to be great for you as well. It's all a matter of what you're looking to do, what you enjoy doing, and also, enjoying the process of finding that out as well. But if you're looking to spend a lot of money right out of the gate on something, I definitely consider taking some time and figuring out what it is that you enjoy doing with your rig, and then from there, or what you would enjoy doing with a potential rig, and then from there, making that purchase decision. Here we've got the comp rig finishing us off here, and just having a hard time hooking up with these tires, not quite getting the grip that he needs. You can see that it makes it definitely significantly more difficult to get that rear axle into the right place without rear steer. There is a pocket that he's just keeps hitting, and he hits the ledge on it, and it's not doing him very well. But that is the comp rig, the end of the comp rig's shots at that spot, definitely showing you that even on some pretty nasty ascents, the Capras can definitely perform very well. At the end here, finishing us off, we're seeing if Kenny's rig can get this ascent taken care of, and unfortunately, the Viterra did not have what it took to get through that section there. It's, kind of to be expected. So I hope this footage was interesting for you guys to watch, or at least kind of fun for you guys to watch. You're always welcome if you don't want to hear me blabbering on, because I don't really know what I'm talking about. You can always just mute the video and watch the trucks go along. But hey, you're here, you made it to the end of the video, which I really appreciate. And so because you did, if you want to go ahead and give the video a big old thumbs up, that would really make my heart all full of joy and happiness. But one more time, I'll remind you guys, highnoonhobby.com/2K giveaway if you want to get entered in the 2,000 subscriber giveaway that ends on December 30th at 11:59 Mountain Standard Time p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But until next Friday, I'm actually out of town right now. As you're watching this video, I am in Mexico. I am getting back on this day that you are watching it, so I will be making a whole bunch more content as soon as I get home. Hopefully I'll be refreshed, relaxed. I'm going to again bring the 24 scale with me down there, so maybe I'll get some footage of it while I'm down there, but maybe I'll just take a little refresher week and see if I can't get inspired for some new content. But if you guys want to inspire me and you have an idea for some content, definitely leave it in the description or leave it down in the comments down below. I want to hear your guys' thoughts for different video ideas. I always love them, and I oftentimes integrate them into the channel. Guys, I think that's about all we got. We got lots of stuff coming down the pipeline. We have so many different build videos. My trucks are proliferating like none other, and I still have tons more builds to do. It's gonna be a crazy off season of building and tuning. That's definitely going to be the focus of the winter time here, and then as we get kind of into the warmer season, then we'll start on some of that comp footage as well. Obviously, we're still going to be going outside a few times and covering that on the channel from here to the start of the comp season. But I'm really looking forward to next comp season, all the different events that are going to be happening, going to more out-of-state events, giving them more coverage as well. Yeah, guys, that's all I got. All right, until next time, hope you enjoy some scale trailing, maybe some hard lines. We'll see you next Friday. Sunday? We'll see you on Sunday. I'm going to be back for that live stream. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. You were worried. Don't be worried. Don't be worried. All right. We'll see you soon. Cheers.